It's 40,000 years ago, and you're lying flat on cold stone, staring straight up. The sky will not sit still. It turns all night, every night for your entire life. Beside you, Ash the wolf pup lifts his head too, ears twitching at something in the dark. No satellites, no paper maps, no little blue dot telling you exactly where you are. Just your eyes, a dying fire behind you, and a world you have never fully seen. You're 3 valleys from camp, and if you can't read the sky tonight, you may never find your way back. Get this wrong. Which way is home? When winter comes, and your whole tribe dies with you. So what did Knox people actually believe the world looked like, above them and all around them? Everything you use to find your way today, they invented first, without writing, without metal. And one of their answers is so old, it's still being repeated word for word today. Knox ancestors didn't map the ground first. They mapped the sky tens of thousands of years before Rome. Every hunt, every migration, every birth was timed by watching what happened over their heads. In a cave in Germany, someone carved a lion-headed man from mammoth ivory 40,000 years ago. Carving that figure took weeks of firelight work. This was never a casual doodle. In 2018, engineer Martin Sweatman at the University of Edinburgh looked at that statue differently. He claims animal carvings across Ice Age Europe aren't just art, they're star charts. Lions, bulls, birds, each one, he argues, marks a constellation, tracking a 26,000-year wobble in Earth's axis. But here's the catch. Most archaeologists still call this theory unproven, maybe even too good to be true. Skeptics argue Ice Age humans just like drawing the animals they hunted. Nothing more, nothing cosmic. Nobody has proven either side completely, which is exactly why we're calling it clearly theory, not fact. Then versus you. You check a weather app. Knox people may have coded the sky itself into stone. 12,000 years later, someone else picked a smaller target. Not the whole sky, just the moon. This bone, found at Aubry Blanchard in France, is 28,000 years old. In 1972, researcher Alexander Marzak noticed its curving row of tiny notches wasn't random at all. He believed each notch marked one night of the moon cycle, the world's first sky almanac. Ash sneezes at exactly the wrong moment, and for one heart-stopping second, you lose count of the notches. Critics pushed back hard, but here's what nobody disputes. The moon changes shape every single night. If your life depends on knowing when to move camp, that's not decoration, that's survival math. Sweatman also points to Lascaux' famous shaft scene. A bison, a bird, a falling man, as another comet record from around 15,200 BC. So for thousands of years, the biggest question wasn't where am I, it was what is happening above me. But here's where the story turns, because eventually someone looked down instead of up. In a cave called Abauntz, in northern Spain, someone engraved a stone smaller than your hand. It shows mountains, a winding river, and marks for where the ibex herds grazed 13,660 years ago. Researchers at the University of Zaragoza, led by Pilar Utrilla, confirmed it in 2009, the world's oldest known map. This isn't debated. It's published, dated, and sitting in a museum right now. Compare that to the disputed sky theories. Here, the evidence needs no defending, no argument, no debate. This wasn't drawn for beauty. Someone needed it to remember exactly where the herds would return next season. Lose that memory, and your whole group goes hungry in a landscape that looks the same in every direction. Then versus you type an address into your phone. They scratch the whole valley into rock. And once you can draw the land, the next question becomes obvious. When should you use it? In Aberdeenshire, Scotland, there's a curved line of 12 pits dug straight into the earth. Archaeologist Vince Gaffney at the University of Birmingham studied it in 2013, and the math stunned him. The pits track the moon's phases month after month, resetting every year at the midwinter sunrise. 12 pits, 12 moons, one long walk, repeated every month for who knows how many centuries. It dates to around 8,000 BC, nearly 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. That's 4,000 years before anyone in Britain planted a single crop on purpose. The world's first known calendar wasn't built by farmers. It was built by hunter-gatherers, tracking time in dirt. Gaffney's team says the system could predict the seasons accurately enough to plan a hunt months ahead. That kind of precision means someone was walking that line and recording it faithfully year after year. Then versus you. You glance at a phone screen for the date. They walk 12 pits every month for centuries. Quick gut check before we go further. If all you had was rock and dirt, could you build a calendar? Now here's the part that gets genuinely strange. Ask people on opposite sides of the planet what the universe looks like. Siberian hunters, Amazonian shamans, and Aboriginal Australians. None of them ever met each other. Yet historian Mircea Eliade, in 1964, documented the same basic shape across all three: sky above, earth in the middle, and underworld below. All three layers connected, in belief, by one central pillar, one axis running straight through the middle of everything. Archaeologist David Lewis Williams at the University of the Witwatersrand traced that same three-layer pattern into sand rock art in South Africa. No one is claiming these people copied each other. Across oceans, none of them ever crossed. The theory, and it is still a theory, is that separated minds, staring at the same night sky, built the same universe. Picture it. Wherever you were born on Earth, chances are your ancestors imagined almost exactly the same universe. Same fear of the dark. Same need for a sky that made sense. Same shape, invented twice, maybe 3 times. Then versus you. Your universe fits on a Wikipedia page. Theirs was a 3-story house with no walls. In Victoria, Australia, the Boorong people don't look for stars. They look for the gaps between them. This isn't folklore dressed up as science. It's precise, functional, generational astronomy. Dark dust clouds in the Milky Way trace the outline of a giant emu, stretched across the whole sky. As the emu tilts through the year, it tells you exactly when to collect emu eggs, a real seasonal calendar. The Boorong had been tracking that patch of sky for generations before any telescope existed on the continent. In 2024, astronomer Dwayne Hamaker at the University of Melbourne confirmed something even stranger in Boorong sky lore. Their oral records describe a bright star flaring in the 1840s, the star we now call Eta Carini. It's the only indigenous eyewitness record of that event found anywhere on Earth. Then versus you, astronomers point telescopes at that star today. Boorong elders pointed a story at it, and it held. But the sky wasn't the only thing worth remembering. The ground beneath their feet was moving too. The deepest map ancient humans ever made wasn't drawn on stone or bone at all. It was spoken, and it described a coastline that doesn't exist anymore. In 2015, geographer Patrick Nunn and linguist Nick Reed studied 21 Aboriginal stories from around Australia's coast. Every story described the same thing: a time when the sea rose and swallowed land people used to walk on. 21 separate communities, 21 separate languages. The same drowned coastline, remembered the same way. That's not coincidence. That's independent confirmation, over and over, of the exact same flood. Modern sea levels were reached about 7,000 years ago, meaning these stories are at least that old. Some, none believes, may stretch back nearly 10,000 years, told the same way, generation after generation. No writing, no GPS, just a story passed mouth to mouth, older than farming, older than the pyramids. And when scientists finally checked that memory against the geology, the story turned out to be right. Then versus you. You trust a map app updated an hour ago. They trusted a memory older than the wheel, and it held for 300 generations. Fast forward from stone maps and spoken memory to something you could finally hold in one hand. In Germany, buried beside two bronze swords, archaeologists found a disc, the Nebra Sky Disc. It's roughly 3,600 years old, bronze inlaid with gold, a sun, a crescent moon, and stars. UNESCO now calls it the oldest concrete depiction of the cosmos ever found on Earth. Historians count it among the most important archaeological discoveries of the last 100 years. Sky and land, sun and moon, all fused into one small object you could carry in a bag. It's the direct ancestor of every map and calendar that came after, including the one in your pocket right now. So what did ancient humans think the world looked like? Layered, alive, watching them back. A sky worth carving into ivory. A moon worth notching into bone. A coastline worth remembering for 10,000 years. You don't wonder what the world looks like anymore. You just open an app, and it's already there. But every line on every map you've ever used started right here, with someone lying on cold stone, refusing to stay lost. Same human, different world. If your ancestor story turned out true 7,000 years later, what's one story of yours that might still hold? Tell us below, and come back next time when Knock finds out what happens when two tribes meet for the first time.